Hello, everybody out there in the solar land. Welcome to today's webinar. We got a good one for you today. My name is John Lurch. I am the Senior Director of Global Marketing at Tigo. Been here about 3 years now. I've been in the energy industry for more than a decade. And I am really excited to talk about today's topic, which is reducing truck rolls with our module level monitoring software, which is included in the Energy Intelligence platform. So this is a really cool one here today that I have. Going to go through a bunch of content. Before I do, though, I want to go through a little bit about the platform that we're using for this webinar. So for starters, you should see me in the top left. I am the one and only speaker today. Below me, there's a Q&A box, and I'd encourage anyone, if they have a question, drop us a question in there. We'll try to get to as many as we can live during the webinar. And if I'm not able to get to any of them, I will follow up with you via email. And speaking of which, you can find my email in the bottom right area, as well as my LinkedIn. Feel free to connect with me. I love to connect with our audience, with installers, distributors, et cetera, everywhere. Then in the top right, there is related content. So I have loaded that up with some cool PDFs as well as links to relevant content that I'm going to touch on during this webinar. So one of the really cool things about On24 is as I'm going through this material, I'm serving up links on the right side. You can click them and access them right away. The other thing that's really cool about this platform is that every webinar we do that's live automatically turns into an on-demand one with the same link. So if some of your colleagues want to watch this, or maybe you're only able to watch half of it, or maybe you catch it halfway through, you can use the same link to watch the whole thing after it's been recorded. Share it with your colleagues, your teams, etc., customers, they can watch it as well. So that is a rundown of the platform. If you're wondering where you can find future webinars, go to tigoenergy.com/webinars. You can sign up for future ones. And we also have dozens of these. We're probably getting close to 100 at this point. Dozens of webinars on demand in many different languages. And you can even search by keyword. You can filter by a product, ton of different things. It is an amazing, amazing library of information that we've put together really to help train folks, get folks educated on Tigo products, learn more about what we have. And if anyone wants to hear about a particular subject, would love to hear a webinar on that subject, add it in the question box or shoot me an email. We really try to keep the content fresh and relevant for what our audience is most interested in. So that's a rundown of the platform. Let's get into what we're going to discuss today. So I'm going to give a brief intro on Tigo Energy for folks that haven't heard about us or might be new to us. Welcome. Then I'm going to go into our TS4 Flex MLPE. So we've been doing this for well over a decade now. Our TS4s, so the MLP, are really what enable the module level monitoring software to work. So that's the really critical hardware component here. Then I'm going to go into the software, specifically the features of the software and some of the benefits. But then I want to take it a step further in this and quantify the benefits of module level monitoring. And at the end, we'll even get into some examples and hear how installers are using this. So a lot of good content here. One thing that I think is particularly relevant with this is, solar O&M, or operations and maintenance. I'll use the term O&M a lot. That means operations and maintenance can often be kind of overlooked. And especially right now, we are seeing such rapid growth in the solar industry. The demand is there. The unit model economics are there. It's growing rapidly everywhere. And as installers do more and more of these, a lot of the focus is purely on growth And it's a good reminder that these are 25 plus year assets for our customers. And I really feel confident that folks are going to thank themselves later if they've installed these systems with module level monitoring, because you have eyes in the sky to understand what's going on at that specific site. And you can do that from the seat of your chair or from the palm of your hand from a phone. It is super, super powerful. And it's something that's going to pay dividends over 25 plus years. So that's what I'll be going through today. Let's first talk a little bit about Tigo. So we've been in business since 2007, founded in Silicon Valley. And our bread and butter since that time has been MLPE, or module level power electronics. These are units that connect to each PV module, and they enable a whole host of features, which I will cover. We are also now a full storage solution provider, so full energy storage solution provider for the residential space. And we have deployed tens of millions of units all over the world, more than 100 countries in all 7 continents. You can see we have green leaves. These all represent clusters of installations, including down in Antarctica. That's how we hit all 7 continents. And one thing that sometimes I got to take a step back and wrap my head around is, we've been doing this since 2007, tens of thousands of these things, all operating on individual PV modules, recording data about what's going on. So we have an enormous data set of solar installations over time across a huge variety of geographies, conditions, module sizes, inverters, etc. And our whole mission, really at high level, it's to enhance or increase the ROI of these sites. So we do that with both hardware and software, enhance safety, increase energy yield, so production, and lowering operating costs. The operating cost is the side that we're really going to zero in on today. And we do this at every scale. So those green leaves that you saw, there are residential systems, there are commercial industrial systems, and there are utility scale systems. And now we've been doing this for a long time with our TS4 Flex MLPE platform. We now offer a whole scope, inverter, batteries, transfer switches, everything on the residential side to enable a whole home backup system as well. And all of it is tied together by the Energy Intelligence software platform that I'm going to dive into the monitoring portion of today. But here's another more visual look. One way to frame this is we cover everything between the module and the grid now. So a really robust kind of end-to-end platform that we are now offering as a one-stop shop. So that's a little bit about Tigo. Let's first zero in on the TS4 Flex MLPE, because this is really the hardware that's enabling so much of the great stuff with the software. A little bit about it just to set the stage on context and scale. And for folks that aren't familiar with it, I like to show this visual. So you can see on the right side, that is one of our TS4 rapid shutdown devices connected to the module frame. And then you have the cables that connect to the junction box. Super simple. These install in 10 seconds per module. So they go in, lightning fast. We are unique in that we do not require ground wire. You can see there are no nuts, no bolts, no wrenches required to do these. So it is a very rapid installation for everyone out there. And they work with virtually any solar module. They also work with virtually any inverter. And if folks are interested, we have now tested and deemed compatible with more than 1,300 different inverters. And you can visit see all of those on our website today. And what these do, I like to say, they give the module superpowers. Superpowers really break down to 3 things. It's optimization, module level monitoring, and rapid shutdown. Go through those in a little more. So those are the 3 features, and we give you the freedom to choose the features you want with the inverter you want and the module you want. So a ton of flexibility with Tigo. That's where the Flex and Flex MLPE comes from. So the other aspect of this is we are rated for 700 watt modules. So our engineering and product teams, they are keeping up with the latest and greatest modules that we know installers love to use, because those high wattage modules keep the LCOE, or the levelized cost of electricity, down on their sites. Better unit model economics for everyone. As I mentioned earlier, we have over 10 million of these deployed all over the world. And we've tested with over 1,000 inverters now. It's over 1,300 now, which is really impressive. And I'm very proud of what our products team has done. And the whole database for folks to be able to check them out is available online. So that's a little bit about, high level platform. Now here's what's going on with each product in the TS4 lineup. So from left to right, we're going to go from fewer features to more features. So starting with our M, just has monitoring. Then our F and 2F does just rapid shutdown. So that's fulfilling a safety code requirement that's part of the National Electrical Code here in the United States, Canada, Mexico, Philippines, Thailand, being adopted in a bunch of other countries, even some in Europe. Check out. Now we're also seeing insurance companies requiring the rapid shutdown function. We've done whole webinars on this. Check that out. So those are pure rapid shutdown devices. Then we have the S that does both rapid shutdown as well as monitoring. So the S product is really popular on extremely large commercial rooftops, for example, as well as floating solar arrays, where folks want that rapid shutdown functionality and they want the monitoring. And then on the far right, we get to our TS4AO. So that includes rapid shutdown, it includes monitoring, and it includes the module level optimization. Module level optimizers, I think folks are pretty well aware of by now, but they are mitigating the impacts of shade. So, and any sort of mismatch. So bottom line is they're increasing the output and increasing the design flexibility of PV systems. Okay. I should note all of our MLPE are DC to DC. We work with that huge variety of string inverters. And we work with those across all three markets. So from residential, you see the site 13 kilowatts in Australia, to commercial, that's one big commercial rooftop in California, to the utility scale, it's 16 megawatts floating on a reservoir. So we let our customers choose performance optimization. So that's the optimizers increasing energy output, the safety, meeting rapid shutdown codes, as well as module level monitoring, any of those across any of those market verticals. And if you are doing a residential system, you can use the same reliable TS4 as someone would use on a commercial system or even a utility system. We really get a lot of reliability out of our systems that way, out of our products. And also installers and others love it because it's oftentimes less inventory for them, right? If you're doing residential and commercial, you can actually use the same products with us. Pretty cool. So a little bit about the specs for the AO. I already mentioned this includes optimization, rapid shutdown, and monitoring. Supports up to 700 watt modules, 20 amp ISC, 15 amp IMP. That is for IEC. Double check our specs for UL. And then these can be deployed with the S. So if you wanted to, it's called selective deployment of our optimizers. You can put O's on the same string with S's. And it does work with a CCA and a TAP. That's a Cloud Connect Advanced and a Tigo access point. And I'll show you a schematic of that in a second. Okay, then we have a safety device, very similar. Both of these units, you can find way more information, including installation information on our website. I think it's important people just get a sense of what they look like. Okay. And then this is the communication architecture. So we have, it could be an O or an S or even an M up there connected to every single module. Then a Tigo access point, or a tap for short, sends and receives a wireless signal. So it creates actually a wireless mesh network with the other TS4s. And so that is how data is being transferred, to the TS4s and also received. And then the tap is connected to a Cloud Connect Advanced, or CCA. That's that green unit. And that is a universal data logger. So that's collecting information from our TS4s, but also can collect information from inverters, energy meters, could be little weather stations, a bunch of different things. And then all of that data is made visible in our energy intelligence platform. That's the monitoring platform. So pretty simple setup. The one thing to note is that monitoring, that wireless capability, that gives us super fine, super granular data visibility to these systems. So I'm going to show some cool stuff that we're able to do as a result of that fine data granularity. Okay. So that's a little bit about the TS4s, a little bit about the architecture. There's a link in the resources panel where you can find more information about the whole TS4 lineup, including some of these accessories that are required for monitoring. So now let's get into the software itself. So we call it Energy Intelligence, EI for short. So this is an all-in-one platform. It does commissioning, it does operations, and it also does the monitoring side of things. And if you kind of squint and really look closely on this picture on the right, I like to call this a digital twin. We have a real-time digital version of every single one of the PV modules on that large rooftop array. And what you can't quite make out in there is it's showing the energy production that's occurred through so far in the day for every single one of those modules. And now you can toggle between energy or power and a bunch of other things to see what is going on in every single module. It is so cool, so powerful. And you get that real time, or virtually real time, minor delay, as well as historical. And then quick commissioning is enabled. We have a very cool bulk scan feature for, I think, up to 70 modules where you can lay them all out on a sheet, and then a layout shows up digitally. So that's really cool. And then, of course, it's available on desktop. It's available on mobile as well. And so to give you a kind of a scale at what we are monitoring on our platform today, it's more than 1 gigawatt hour of PV production done at the module level every single day. We have more than 900 terabytes of data. Love our software guys talk about how much data we're consuming is like more than many SaaS companies. It's amazing. More than 2 terawatt hours of reclaimed energy have been enabled, and I'll show you what reclaimed energy is. That's the additional energy enabled by our optimizers. So very cool stat, very unique to Tigo. And then this is an open architecture system. So we are not closed. We're not a walled garden in this. As I mentioned, you can connect other devices, including other inverters and other batteries and energy meters, et cetera. So we get the question a little more now because we do offer our own inverter and battery for the residential space, but you still can connect a whole bunch of different string inverters and batteries and a bunch of other things into our platform, right? That's kind of been a cornerstone of Tigo, as being open. So that is the scale of the software. And I mentioned it's available on desktop and mobile. Here's a quick rundown of some of the different things that are included. So number one, you can see the module level view there in the bottom right. I showed that on the previous screen. Then you can also see the power flow diagram. So that is number two. You can see where the power is going between the modules, the inverter, the battery, the home, the grid, etc. Then in the top right, we show both the weather as well as like lifetime metrics, so folks get a sense of how their systems performed over the lifetime. And then reclaimed energy, which we show you in that bottom left, right near the number 4. And in the way I like to think of that, that's what showed you the home, kind of the home screen, really. Um, but we really distill this down into a couple main benefits on maximizing site performance and minimizing truck rolls. And you can think of the capabilities here of monitoring in these 3 layers. So at the very top, we have fleet level. So previously we were talking about kind of individual sites or individual modules. The fleet level lets you manage all of the sites. So pretend you did 100 of these things, all of them at scale in one spot. Then we get into the system level, that's like the power flow. Then you get to the module level. And I think it's important to highlight this because there's kind of different levels that we want to go to accomplish different things. So fleet-wide, and here's a view of what it might look like if you were an installer very prominent in the Bay Area, California. You get all your sites in one location. You can click into any of them. You can view them on a list, view them on a map, and even filter by key characteristics of the site, like size, like make and model of modules that are used or inverters that are used, Tigo equipment that's used, etc. Look for any issues on each site. So I think this is a prime example, going back to what I was mentioning earlier, of as everyone's doing sites really rapidly, this is the kind of stuff you look back on 5 years later and you go, oh, I'm so happy to have everything in one platform, right? So this is fleet-wide. Then we get system, so complete view of all the major components that have been connected, as well as what's going on real time between them. And then, of course, the kind of histogram charts that folks have become familiar with of, okay, what's going on each hour of the day, what happened last month, how does that compare, et cetera, right? So this is the whole system view. And then, well, before we get to the module view, I'm double clicking on the reclaimed energy portion. So you just saw that in that bottom section there. You can see that. It is the green on top of the stacked bar chart. And this is something that is totally unique to Tigo. It's only shown if you've used our TS4 optimizers, but it's showing you the energy benefit of installing those optimizers. And I don't want to get into too much detail on this because we're going to do a whole separate webinar completely focused on reclaimed energy and the benefit of optimizers. But the high level, if we make some assumptions, say 10 kilowatt site, 20 cents a kilowatt hour, 10% reclaimed energy, that's about $10,000 for a residential site over 25 years. That is a huge benefit for an extremely low investment. So huge return, very low I, very large ROI, right? Commercial site, 300 kilowatts, 12 cents a kilowatt hour, so cheaper power. 6% reclaimed energy, maybe a little less shade. You're looking at over $100,000 in savings. So huge savings with reclaimed energy. And what is unique to Tigo is we show it to you. You can calculate it. You can use it with your customers to show them why they decided to invest in optimization. So quick plug there. If you're interested in more about it, I have kind of these detailed documents where we really open the book on our whole fleet of reclaimed energy and show you the stats, because we want you to be able to win more business with these statistics. Okay. So we talked fleet level, we talked system level. Now I'm down at the module level, and you can see almost instantly in one of these views, even without looking at any numbers, which they're not showing, if there are gray modules or some that are darker green, those are the areas that might need some extra looking into, right? And then if we zoom in, these ones, for example, show the energy production throughout the day. And of course, then you can also show real-time power and other things like that. So this gives you a sense of what is available at the module level view, both for the day as well as historical. Super, super powerful for being able to diagnose issues. Okay. Speaking of diagnosing issues, we will also let you toggle on different alerts and settings so we can proactively send you alerts before issues potentially come critical or before you might get a phone call from a homeowner or business owner. So we give you some information, also provide some suggestions on troubleshooting. Okay. So that is a rundown of the monitoring. But everyone always says, okay, so what does that mean? What does that really translate into in terms of savings for me or savings for my customer? And this is a subject that I dove way into because there's a lot of kind of hand wavy statistics out there or stats that people throw around. So I'm going to dive into it with you. And if you would like to go into it in even more detail with me, shoot me a note. I'd be happy to after this. But I think you're going to like what you're about to see. So let's quantify some savings. In order to quantify some savings, I want to first establish a little bit of a baseline, right? And this is a chart with some very ugly colors from NREL. That's the National Renewable Energy Laboratory here in the United States. It's from Q1 2020, so fairly recent. And what they did is went into super detail on things like failure rates, causes of maintenance visits, and everything else related to O&M for PV installations. And they ended up arriving at estimated costs for residential, commercial, both roof and ground mount, and then utility scale as well projects. So super fascinating to look into some of these details. But the distillation or summary of it is on the residential side. Typical O&M costs are about $28 a kilowatt per year. So for a 10 kilowatt installation, that's $280. And for commercial, $18 per kilowatt per year. So for a 100 kilowatt site, that's about $1,800. Now, someone might be scratching their heads going, no way, I do 100 kilowatt sites. No way am I paying $1,800. Well, what these numbers factor in is they've essentially amortized or spread out incidents like inverter failures and other things like that. So the probability of those, and they've spread them out across the entire lifetime of the system. And remember, if we're doing 25-year life of these systems sitting outside and everything else, there's probably a little bit of backloading to a lot of the different issues that arise, right? So anyway, that is the baseline from which to work off of. And so that included site visits, equipment failures, replacement, all sorts of stuff. Okay. In a big component of these, whether it is equipment replacement or even just getting phone calls about things, is truck rolls. So oftentimes a truck roll, like in this case, even just an annual inspection, 150 to $300. That's probably on the light side. Maybe works for residential. I know for a lot of the large commercial sites, you're not only sending someone out to the site, you're also coordinating with someone in facilities to be able to gain access to the roof. Maybe you have to take a safety test to even get access to the roof, then get up there and walk it. It is not a small endeavor, and those hours add up. Someone's paying for all that time, right? So a big thing we like to ask ourselves and go through with our installers and other customers, how many of these truck rolls can be avoided altogether? And I love this quote from Energy Sage and essentially using the analogy of breadcrumbs. Basically, if there's an issue with the solar installation, typically there are signs or breadcrumbs of what might be wrong, right? So let's get into some very, very specific examples of where folks might do a truck roll typically, but maybe avoid it with some Tigo monitoring. And here's an example, classic phone call that folks get, hey, why is my system underperforming? Someone's looking at, you know, what they typically get for a day and it seems lower. Well, common one is that sun is moving. Maybe it's just a little bit of different time in the year, and there's shade on specific modules, right? If you've laid them out on the site, we actually even show you what the sun's doing. If you laid them out the way the site is set up, you might be able to see, hey, no, this is pretty typical to see. Those are probably sitting in the shade right now. You can avoid a truck roll. You can communicate with them over the phone. Same thing, oftentimes, and super relevant right now, we're in the middle of winter, and at least here in the West Coast United States, there is snow all over the place. Um, Snow has fallen, and maybe it started to clear up a little bit, and those modules are starting to generate electricity, but some of them aren't. What's going on? Well, that often happens for those lower modules on the bottom of the slope, right? Of the roof slope, where the snow has just collected. And so those ones aren't producing energy. Again, another example of you can see and validate that it is those modules. It's not damaged, something that's damaged in the whole array. Avoid yourself a truck roll. And even better, maybe avoid yourself a truck roll in the snow, right? So those are some simple ones. Now, what about an example of the dreaded customer calls and there's an issue, or you notice something, go out to a site, fix one thing, come back, but the issue is not really fixed. Maybe one thing was fixed, but there's multiple ones, right? So here's an example that you can see with monitoring of 3 separate issues. There's a couple inverters down that would probably get caught. That might be the origination of the truck roll. But then there's also 3 modules not communicating. You can see those in the gray. Maybe someone needs to check out the connections there. And then you can see in the dark green where I've highlighted these blue arrows are pointing at some dark green modules. Something is going on there. Maybe those have a little dirt or debris or some leaves or something on them. But if you're already all the way out the site you might as well go take a look and just confirm that everything's doing okay with those. And so without some module level monitoring, and again, someone's about to go to the site, they can pull this up, they can write themselves a little punch list. Okay, these are the things we're going to look at, even pull it up on their phone, handle it right there. Instead of 2 down inverters, fix those, go back. Oh, something's still wrong, go back, fix the modules not communicating, go back. And then, hey, we're still not getting good performance over here, send someone come back, right? So create a punch list, put them all into one visit. That's huge savings. And I should have noted earlier, I calculated $440 worth of savings in these. Every one of these calculations I've put into an Excel model where we're looking at, okay, number of hours it takes, is there any labor equipment required, and how much time is it for an individual to go to, also for back office kind of paperwork stuff. Okay. And then another example on these specific modules, I highlighted this one earlier, but you can quickly see which ones have issues. So instead of walking across this enormous, it's like a 500 kilowatt array, maybe 500 or 700 kilowatt array across a rooftop, and this one's even elevated, you know exactly which ones you need to go check out. That is huge time savings, right? Huge time savings. And then you also are giving your customers the confidence that that you're looking after their site, right? And then batching visits. So we talked about fleet management. If you have one site that looks like this and another site that's looking like this, and you could have this one as well, right? You might have multiple in a geographic area where you can send one person with a punch list for each one of those to go take care of it in one big round trip, instead of handling them kind of a la carte or ad hoc as you get the phone calls. This enables you to be proactive, schedule your techs more efficiently, and that means less cost to address existing customers and more time to install new sites, right? double win. And then, I think this is the last example, and it can be a real hidden one that just adds up to enormous dollar amounts over time. And we see this, it's not an irregular occurrence. We see this on large sites in particular, where there are diodes that are just out, that there's an issue with the module, right? And this would be so hard to catch without module level monitoring because it's only 1/3 of a module production. So if you just have string monitoring, it's 1/3 of one module across however many modules are in the string, right? It'd probably go unnoticed. But you can see pretty quickly there's a few of these darker green, there's 2 of them that are missing 1/3 of their production. That's a telltale sign that there is a diode issue. And so if you multiply one diode issue, just one, across 15 years, so not even the full 25 years, just 15 years on a residential site, 22 cents a kilowatt hour, that's $935. So for 2 of them, double it. We're getting close to $2,000 that's foregone just kind of silently, right? And with the module level monitoring, you go up, you commission the system, take a look on your monitoring portal, you know exactly, okay, I need to go get replacements for those 2 modules straight away while you already have folks on the site. That's even another potential truck roll for you. Okay. So what does all of this mean for your customers? We've talked about individual kind of isolated events. Let's go and really tabulate it up for specific sites. And this is where on the right, I'm showing that Excel model that I built because I really wanted to get into the weeds on this and understand what are all the drivers of the costs. And going through this exercise and talking to installers, one thing also became clear is oftentimes there's not just one. These things over 25 years, there can be multiple, right? So it's not just one customer phone call, there's batch visits, there's a diode outage, time figuring out which module is faulty out of the entire array, right? And if you just add up over 25 years, this is a 10 kilowatt residential site. We have a few customer asks, we have, return site visits because of multiple issues, a diode outage. That quickly gets to over $1,600 in total benefit for that one site enabled by module level monitoring. That's 23% of those lifetime O&M expenses that I mentioned in the NREL report, right? Amazing savings. So let's bump up the size a little, 15 kilowatts, Texas. So lower the labor rates a little bit, lower the electricity rates a little bit, still major savings. Okay. And then go into a commercial site, kind of similar thing, potential diode, multiple service visits, etc. You can quickly get above $3,000. In this case, I calculate that at 8% of lifetime O&M expenses. So very easily getting in that kind of 10% range, 10%, 15%, maybe more for something bigger of avoided O&M expenses through module level monitoring, right? And I can't stress enough all these 25 plus year assets we're operating with. So we talked a lot about some of those specific examples. I talked about rolling up the examples. Now I want to show 2 examples of what some of our installers are saying. So this first one is a case study in Spain. It's linked here if you want to download a more detailed view with some more customer quotes and everything. But this is maybe my favorite case study that we've done. I'd love to go out there for multiple reasons and visit one day. But my favorite part of this was someone that did one installation on actually their own home, and you can see it's a row of similar looking homes, and they wanted as much PV capacity as possible on some extremely limited roof space, right? There's solar awnings, there's mixed orientations, there's all sorts of stuff. They did use Tigo optimizers on this. It was, I think, about a 9.5 kilowatt site, right? And through the monitoring portal with Tigo Energy Intelligence, they could see that they were getting about 26% reclaimed energy. So here I show a screenshot from the iPad of those big green bar charts showing all the additional energy production enabled by Tigo optimizers. And so what this individual did, and granted it's an installer's own house that installed Tigo, then showed the iPad and showed the information to the neighbors. And so one neighbor picked it up and said, yeah, I want to do that too. That's fantastic. And another one said, I want to do that too. That's fantastic. And we could see in the fleet view of the monitoring portal, in those green leaves over to the left, one neighbor at it, and another one, and another one, and another one. Suddenly there were 6 or 7. And now, last we heard, there are 13 of these neighbors all in this row with similar buildings that are all putting in Tigo optimizers. And I think this is where it's so cool, where there's absolutely the aspect of reducing O&M with that module level monitoring and ensuring sites are performing at their optimal for customers. But this is also a sales tool to be able to effectively communicate the value of optimization and give other people the assurance that they're getting the best bang for their buck for their investment by being able to see that reclaimed energy. So super, super powerful sales tool, as evident by 12 more of these folks joining the Tigo optimizer installation bandwagon. So that's case study in Spain. And then this other one is John. He's the president of SCE Energy Solutions. This is down in Australia. And I love this photo actually of him in the bottom left, where you can see he's got 2 screens open. Both are different. They're different sites, but both are of Tigo Energy Intelligence monitoring portal. And he has it pulled up. And then you can see in the image on the right, that's one of his sites as well. You can actually view a demo of one of his sites through the EI monitoring portal anytime through his webpage. So super cool. He's been a fantastic customer and advocate. Recommend checking them out. But his quote really also speaks to using this as a sales tool, as well as an effective way to keep O&M down, right? So our in-house support team conducts online weekly maintenance checks to ensure your system is performing to its optimum. And that was actually posted on LinkedIn, right? So this is a way to tell customers, hey, I have eyes in the sky for your sites. Rest assured, and these are beautiful looking sites, your systems are going to be performing well. And any future customers you sign up with me, I have you covered, right? So I love these examples. I think they're wonderful ways that this goes way beyond just a cost reduction kind of platform or service with O&M, but then quickly turns into a way to win more deals and to keep customers satisfied as well. So that is the last kind of core slide. The last thing I'll say is you have a demo. This is, of course, available on Google Play as well as the App Store, so you can get it all in the palm of your hand. I know I showed a ton of screenshots from the desktop view because it's really nice to see all of them in big picture. You get it all in the palm of your hand to both monitor as well as commission your system. And with that, any more information you're looking for on Tigo, we have so much stuff on tigoenergy.com. Really proud of a lot of the things that are on there, including a webpage dedicated to our energy intelligence platform. Visit the download page for additional materials, brochures on monitoring, etc. We do have, for anyone that's already installed Tigos looking for some additional support, we have an excellent support team with extremely fast response rates that are happy to get back to you with any issues you have. We also have that support site and resource center with tons of articles to walk through things like commissioning or troubleshooting or identifying issues on sites, anything else of that nature. And we also have the contact sales form there. You can get in touch with me or use that same link to get in touch with our sales team if you're interested in getting some of our units. And I will say, if this is your first time using Tigo, we have an awesome, or even if you've been using Tigo for a while and you want to learn more, there's an awesome training course available in the Tigo Academy for TS4s. Only takes about 2 hours, and you can view it on demand, completely free, and get totally up to speed on how to install these systems, commission the systems, etc. And if this is your first time doing, say, a monitored system or even a first time using Tigo, you got a big project or maybe it's a series of homes, you want some additional help, get in touch with our sales engineers, which you can do through the support site. And we have super experienced folks that are happy to walk you through, even take a look at some of the designs and other things like that, and provide feedback with our customers. So I'm consistently amazed and impressed by some of the stuff coming out from both our support as well as our sales engineering team, because we know that your success is our success. So with that, I just want to say thank you. We came in around 46 minutes, so hopefully gave you a little bit of time left back in your day. If you have other questions, please shoot me a note. I'm going to try to get to as many of those as I possibly can. And be sure to check out future webinars, and I look forward to seeing you there. Have a good one, everybody.